Back tonight here on In Focus as we head into winter. What needs to be done to minimize load shedding and avoid prolonged power cuts? Energy expert Chris Yelland joins us now to talk more on this issue. Chris, good to have you with us, and thank you very much for your time. We're hearing even today, and of course those who know these things on energy have differing views on why we are still battling with wet coal issues, for example. One analyst saying, well, it's because it is poor coal, so poor quality coal. So when they put it on the furnaces, it just creates sludge, and that thing will block and certainly will break down the power station. I mean, what is your take on why we are still battling issues like that, like poor quality coal?
Yeah, look, I think we've got to distinguish the real big picture from minor day-to-day issues. Wet coal is a day-to-day issue. The real issues are really clear, and that is that we don't have sufficient new generation coming on stream to replace the very poorly performing old coal fleet. And the solutions will come from new generation capacity. Things like maintenance, things like wet coal are normal day-to-day activities which of course have to be dealt with, but they don't change the big picture. And the big picture is there has been no significant new coal procurement, new power generation procurement for many years. And the public processes are delayed and coming on far too slowly, and are not going to be part of the solution in the next 2 years. But that does not mean to say that we need to be negative. There are solutions. We can solve this load shedding problem easily in 2 years with the right will and leadership and commitment to resolve the problem. The problem will not come from Eskom. The solution will not come from Eskom, and the solution will not come from public procurement processes. Yeah. The solutions will come from customers.
So you're saying that, for example, the portfolio committee on scope are barking at the wrong tree, right? So they're saying
yes.
We must fix the situation at Medupi and Kusile, for example, prioritize that, fix the stability of project management and avoid delays and so on and so forth. And you're saying all these things, all these recommendations that they're looking at are not going to be the solution to what we are dealing with here.
Those are side issues. Politicians know very little about electricity supply. And I would say that about Scopa as well. The solutions are going to come from customers of electricity. That means embedded generation, distributed generation, self-generation on a significant scale. It is absolutely possible to deliver 15,000 megawatts of new generation capacity at no cost to the fiscus, built by customers within 2 years. That is the solution, and that will end load shedding quickly and efficiently and at low cost. Of course, Eskom does need to continue to do maintenance. Of course, they need to finish Medupi and Kusile. Of course, they need to do those kind of things. But that is not the solution. The solution comes from new generation capacity, and there is no new generation capacity scheduled for Eskom to build following Medupi and Kusile. Absolutely nothing in the integrated resource plan for electricity. The real solution, as I say, comes from customers.
Yeah. The various bid windows that have now, well, one would say maybe expedited and they've come on board, I think bid window 5 and bid window 6, do they offer any kind of relief?
Of course, they do offer solutions, but not in the next 2 to 3 years. So we got to look to solving the load shedding problem in the next 2 years. And that's where the solutions need to be found by bringing customers in and making them part of the solution. Yes, we need to continue with the Renewable Energy IPP program, but that's not going to deliver in the next 2 to 3 years.
When you say customers, Chris, need to come on board here, I mean, when I look at, for example, what it will cost to be off-grid, it's an enormous amount of money. Not many people would be able to afford that.
No, that's not correct. Customers of electricity are looking to a new generation capacity with enormous interest. I just want to run through a few possibilities. Firstly, on the domestic side, it is absolutely clear that the domestic sector can deliver and will be delivering about 1,000 megawatts in the next 2 years. Then we look at the commercial and industrial space. It's absolutely clear there's a will, there's a commitment, there's an appetite for this to build 3 gigawatts, 3,000 megawatts in the next 2 years from the commercial and industrial sector. If you look at the mining sector, speak to Roger Baxter from the Mineral Council of South Africa. His members are ready to deliver 3,900 megawatts in the next few years. Completely feasible. Look at Sasol. They're busy procuring right now 800 megawatts, 900 megawatts of new generation capacity. Look at South 32. They could be delivering 2,000 to 3,000 megawatts in the next few years. Yeah. Look at ArcelorMittal. Look at the municipalities, Durban, Cape Town, Johannesburg, Ekurhuleni, Tshwane. They're all talking about 500 megawatts each. Add them up, that comes to 2,000 megawatts. Yeah. And look at the agricultural sector. Farmers are busy installing solar PV systems on farms all around the country. Could easily deliver another 1,000 to 2,000 megawatts in the next 2 years. This is where the solutions come from. We've got to put aside this negativism, this feeling of helplessness that I see all around us, this feeling that somehow we are failing and Eskom is failing. Yes, Eskom is failing, but the solutions are not going to come from Eskom. You just have to look at the Integrated Resource Plan for electricity, the IRP 2019. There is no new Eskom generation coming on there beyond Medupi and Kusile, which are already running so many years late. Yes, of course they've got to finish them, but that's not where the solutions come from.
So, I mean, one of the scenarios painted here, you tell me, and this is a scenario, hence I'm telling you, when I look at the amount, I'm thinking it's 260,000, $250,000 rands. A typical middle-class household that consumes 900 kilowatts of electricity every month, or 30 kilowatts per day. The average household uses 65% of its electricity during the evening. You will require battery storage of about 19.5 kilowatts to power your home at night. I mean, 14 panels. That installation and everything else, that's a lot of money, Chris.
Of course it's a lot of money, but so is the cost of electricity a lot of money. Let's not argue about the matter. Let's just look at the straight, clear facts right now. Right now, the rooftop solar sector in South Africa is currently installing 800 megawatts a year. That's what, if you can go and look at the Department of Trade and Industry statistics of the solar PV panels that are being brought into South Africa for the rooftop commercial and industrial sector. And that's what's being delivered every year. So when I talk about 2,000 megawatts in 2 years, this is not a difficult target. This is what's being delivered right now, and we need to ramp it up by not only encouraging, not only allowing it, but encouraging it and facilitating it, and in fact incentivizing it. Then you could get this, instead of 800 megawatts a year, you could raise it to 1,200 megawatts a year easily. And as I say, you just have to look at what Sasol are doing. You have to look at what major mining companies are doing. There's an enormous appetite. Why? Because there's a very strong business case for this.
Look at that facilitation then and incentivizing. Is there currently any plan in the plans of Eskom to do that? I mean, if I do generate even extra and I'm able to, can I plug it into the Eskom system? Is the system currently built in such a way that I'm able to do that?
It is difficult. In fact, in the past, the incumbents, that is the municipalities in Eskom, have been positively discouraging it. But that is beginning to change. And we need to start incentivizing it and encouraging it. And then you will see it really taking off as it should. Now, the kind of, there are some incentives in place. There are some tax breaks, but only for business. For example, you can write off the full cost of, or the full capital cost of installing a solar PV system. You can write that off in the year of commissioning in one shot, as opposed to having to depreciate it over 5 or 6 years. And that of course, it really does improve the business case. But there are other ways of incentivizing it, for example, through feed-in tariffs, and for allowing people to generate into the grid, which will not only relieve Eskom of its burden, but at the same time will incentivize customers to install it and to use this as a way of not only reducing their own electricity consumption from the grid, but in fact generating power into the grid and being paid for it. No reason why this can't be done. It's just bureaucracy.
Not wanting to be negative, not only will you be relieving Eskom of the burden, but maybe to an extent you will also be relieving it of the revenue that it could be generating. This could result into massive financial losses of Eskom.
No, not true. The thing is, already, right now, as you've seen last week, Eskom were unable to deliver 4,000 megawatts of generation capacity. It had to load shed because it was unable to deliver it. So taking that burden off Eskom is not going to reduce its revenue. It's going to help Eskom so that it can start focusing on its strengths, and it's not going to reduce their revenue because it's unable to supply it already. So I think that's a red herring.
Chris Yelland, appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming on.